All right, so today we have the video says Iran fires back after Trump strikes nuclear facilities. U.S. blew up diplomacy. All right, so this is the thing, bro. Now that the United States have blew up the nuclear facilities, we don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It could be a good thing. The only thing I do know is everybody on social media is going into a uproar and a frenzy saying that it's the break off of World War III. When they start getting into them nuclear weapons and everything like that, the massive destruction weapons, man, it's crazy, bro. It is crazy. So we're gonna see we're gonna try to catch up and see what's going on now.
Let's keep going here. Hours after the U.S. strike, the Iranian regime resumed targeting the citizens in Israel. They're fighting a very different war. They're not going after military targets or anything like that. They are shooting at people. They are sending those missiles into major civilian areas, some 27 overnight around Tel Aviv and Haifa. Israel's health ministry says at least 80 people were badly injured in some cases in those overnight strikes. Chief Foreign Correspondent.
Oh my God, bro. They're killing the people. They're not trying to target the weaponry locations. They're targeting the neighborhoods, the society of people. This is bad, bro. This is
in
bad.
Tel Aviv. Trey.
Harris, good morning. Hours after President Trump ordered those U.S. strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, the Iranians launched a large-scale ballistic missile attack against Israel, sending millions of people into bomb shelters. Nearly 30 missiles soaring through the skies of this country. According to first responders, there were 10 different impact sites and more than 80 people wounded. A number of residential buildings were destroyed. First responders going to the scene, digging through the rubble, trying to find people who survived these blasts. We do understand that the Israelis remain today on high alert, fearing more Iranian responses. And there is a state of emergency here, warning civilians to stay out of public gatherings. Schools are closed and businesses shuttered. This is what Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had to say in response to the American strikes.
History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace.
The Iranians have responded saying all options are on the table about a possible response to the U.S. strikes overnight. And the country's foreign minister releasing a statement saying, quote, last week we were in negotiations with the U.S. when Israel decided to blow up that diplomacy. This week we held talks with the E3 EU when the U.S. decided to blow up that diplomacy. What conclusion would you draw? Again, American forces and the Israelis remain on high alert across the region. There's real concern about a possible response that could come at any moment. And we do understand that both current and former Israeli officials continue to praise President Trump for this decision, understanding that it has changed the reality for the Middle East, going after these key nuclear sites in Iran and taking away that important piece of leverage that the regime had just 24 hours ago related to their nuclear program. Harris?
Trey, I'm curious. You said through your reporting that all options are on the table for Iran. What does that even mean at this point? And are they hitting Israel in a way that they anticipated? Is it bigger? I know they're hitting civilians, and that is horrible, and they can continue to do that. But I had been reading maybe they wouldn't have as much in terms of weaponry at this point.
Yeah, Harris, you're exactly right. And I spoke on the phone earlier with Israel's former defense minister, Yoav Gallant, and he said it would be a grave mistake for the Iranians to respond to these strikes overnight that were ordered by President Trump. They do have some limited capability to continue targeting Israeli population centers with ballistic missiles. They could also use their proxies in the region, these Iran-backed Iraqi and Syrian Shia militias, to go after U.S. bases or embassies in the Middle East. But the key thing to remember here is that over the past year and a half, the Israelis have systematically taken out Iranian proxies like Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The Americans and the Israelis have gone after the Houthis in Yemen. They've targeted Hamas and Islamic Jihad inside Gaza, and it has given the Iranians very limited options in terms of a response. The situation has changed. If we were having this conversation 2 years ago, Israel would fear a massive missile attack from multiple directions. Right now, they just have to brace for the possibility of more ballistic missile fire from Iran and the chance that Iran could try to mobilize what's left of their proxy forces in the region to launch limited strikes against population centers here or American interests across the region.
Yeah,
Harris?
I wanted to know about the
That's-
reach in terms of all of those 40,000+ American personnel and some even their families in the region
that's
as
crazy.
well. So we'll get into that with Joey Jones. You set it up perfectly. I'm so appreciative of your reporting always, Trey. Thank you. In focus now, Joey Jones, retired Marine bomb technician and Fox News contributor. So let's talk about the exposure, if you will, of our men and women in the military in that region right now. And are we more worried or less, do you think, at this point?
I think you have to be a little bit more worried today. You don't know what Iran's going to do. You have Soleimani as an example. We had a guest on Fox and Friends this morning, and he kind of tried to thread the needle and said he thought they would do more than what they did after Soleimani, but try not to do too much to create a reaction from us. My guessing at it is, do they try to go after capabilities rather than personnel? Do they want American blood, or do they want a PR win after they've been embarrassed on the international stage? I don't know. I don't even know what capabilities they have left.
That's my question,
And
too.
so that's a big part of it as well. So it's not a wait and see, it's a wait and hope, I think.
Okay, so this is important. From that Secretary Rubio interview with Maria Bartiromo, he told her there are no planned military operations right now against Iran. That sounds like a really open window if they will step in and take it for negotiations.
Yeah, there's soundbite after soundbite from Secretary Hegseth's press conference this morning. I mean, he said very matter-of-factly the president wants them to come to the negotiation table, and he says they know the steps they need to take for peace. Now, he didn't tell us what those steps are, but that was in response to a question about, is the Trump administration directly communicating with Iran's leadership? And he said yes.
All right, next one, because I've been pulling just headlines in the last 11 minutes now as the sun is setting in that part of the world, as you saw. It's after 6 p.m. there. So the IAEA chief, Grossi, was telling another network they cannot assess the damage underground at Iran's Fordo. Okay, they cannot, do you think? Or they're not being allowed to? Or what is the situation? Because they didn't have eyes on it before all this.
It could be both. It could be that the damage is such that there isn't a direct path in there to see.
And we hope that.
And probably nobody's getting an invitation into Iran right now to inspect nuclear facilities, no matter where they're from. I would imagine, and what we keep hearing is Israel has boots on the ground there in some form or fashion, and probably plans to do a battle damage assessment of some sort.
Okay, I figured. I mean, the IAEA had an opportunity to do more than be duplicitous at one point. They
They
really,
put out,
you and I have talked
they
about
put
this
out
before.
one report in May that really changed a lot of things, that said for the first time that Iran had violated any agreement they had. But I think that's 20 years too late.
Yeah, that's the problem. All right, one last one here. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, we're familiar with it because there are millions of Muslims that they say they speak for. Here's what they say. They have now set up a contact group for regular contact with regional international parties to support de-escalation efforts to stop the aggression against Iran and seek peaceful settlement. You've been hearing a lot about people not liking how this is going because they're for the Islamic regime.
Yeah, I think if you look at the Arab nations, some of the biggest ones, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and the first statement they put out, and I think the other one was Qatar, they all stopped shy of condemning or almost taking a side. They all said, we need to find a peaceful resolution, essentially. But then you've got the Secretary General of the United Nations coming out and pointing the ire directly at the United States, as if the United States was the only bad actor or the bad actor in the situation. So it's almost like President Trump's tour of the Middle East has flipped the table a little bit.
Well, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's keeping his promises. I don't think the world is used to that. The New York Times with this headline, with military strike, his predecessors avoided. Trump takes a huge gamble. President Trump is betting the United States can repel whatever retaliation Iran orders, and that it has destroyed the regime's chances of reconstituting its nuclear program. Your take on that?
Yeah, phrasing it that way, like it's very open-ended, we absolutely can. In a conventional war, we are the world's superpower. And with what Iran has left, if we so wanted, we could absolutely destroy their military. That doesn't mean we do it without any losses of our own. Doesn't mean that the troops and the ships that we have in the region aren't susceptible to a missile getting lucky and striking one of them, honestly. But the frame it as President Trump takes a big risk. I think this is the most calculated thing he's done when it comes to war. I mean, we got to understand that this is the same president that did not start a new war, that ended the war against ISIS, but also set a precedent using the Moab, and now has set a precedent using the MOP. So he understands, I guess we've, just to use the tagline, they do peace through strength, this idea that if you are decisive and immediate and severe with your action, maybe you don't have to have a prolonged war.
Yeah, I like the acronym for the massive ordinance. they mopped it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Joey, good to see you. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
I'm Steve Ducey.
Wow, bro. Like I said, one thing about Trump, bro, he got some balls, bro. He got some balls and he ain't gonna back down. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. But I just say, you guys on the other end, us as United States citizens, bro, just stay prayed up. Pray for both sides. Pray for peace, bro. Because we don't know how this may end, bro. We have no idea. Let's hope they do come to some type of peace agreement and everything will be settled. Because this could go on for a long time.